Thanks for joining this morning, Lola. You want to unmute and say hi and introduce yourself? And here is my wingman today. You get to be the wingman today. I was wing woman last week.
Yay.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hi.
Oh, I guess I could do.
And we're going.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to our 35th episode of Business Unusual. We are delighted to have you with us today. I am Brendan Filbert, managing partner of SalesWorks. And at SalesWorks, what we do is we help people and businesses get in front of their next ideal opportunity, whether that's your next client or your next career opportunity that you're pursuing right now, or potentially freelance gig. So that's who I am, Chris.
Hello, everybody. I am Chris Motley, the big fish at Motley Creations, where we make you look good.
And you really?
Motley Creations does like managed marketing services. So what does that mean? What does that mean, you say? It's we help small and medium-sized businesses with big goals. I help them find the right size solutions to execute on their marketing strategy and develop the brand and image that they need to have to be successful.
And we are delighted to have you with us today. It started in, I think, March, when this little thing happened around here that I think is called COVID. And it's just been compounded by all kinds of other stuff that's happened. Chris and I got together and we had this brainchild of people need help and they need a sounding board and somebody that can kind of help them with crafting what direction they need to go with their prospecting and their marketing strategy. So the two of us have joined forces to create this series of webinars. We are so excited to have you with us today. And I do want to let you know that we are offering something extra special to you that are on the call. And then also, if you're listening to this recording later, it's a limited time offer. So if you miss out this time, make sure you hop into our Facebook group, the Prospecting Challenge group, and we'll share information with you there on when we're going to be doing other stuff, like we're getting ready to kick off on Monday. Now, today we are specifically talking referral prospecting. And I gave away, there's a big spoiler alert right there that I gave away a lot of what we're going to be covering today. With overall prospecting in general, our focus is going to be on getting you introductions to that perfect person that you most want to meet. Now, we're going to dive into our conversation today with, first of all, who is it that we're specifically talking to? Because each one of our sessions, we either talk about a marketing topic or we're talking about a sales topic. And today it is specifically prospecting. So how do you get in front of your next opportunity in the most constructive way? So our audience for today, we are talking specifically to business developers, solopreneurs, or anybody that has a prospecting goal that they're looking to reach, and they want to be as effective and productive as they go. So if you fit any of those boxes, then you're in the right spot. We're delighted to have you with us today. We have a lot of ground that we're going to be covering. Now, we got a couple of housekeeping issues I'm going to have Chris go over with you.
Okay, so as we're progressing in this, Brendan and I use the chat to go, hey, you have spinach in your teeth, or shut up, you're putting people to sleep, or things like that, right? So that's how we communicate with each other. Brendan's going to ask you questions throughout, and what I'd like you to do is use the questions pane. And if you don't know where that is, it's on the right-hand side. There should be a roll-up tab for questions, and you can communicate with me through there while Brendan's presenting. And when the time is appropriate, I will interrupt her and kind of ask her some of these questions, or some of your questions. So I think we're going to turn off our cameras now because Brendan's got some very iffy internet connection, and I don't want to lose her on this. So bear with us here. All right, so let's get going.
And just know that if you do lose me, my wingman can pick it up and run with it. And Chris has been my referral partner and client, and I've been his client. So we're probably kind of like brother sister here in the
It is.
whole marketing world.
It
So
is.
we're going to have a lot of fun this morning. Know that the more interactive we can make our conversation, the better. So there will be several spots that I stop and ask you questions. And I do want you to make sure that you are jumping in on that. And let's go ahead and get started with this, because we got a lot that we're going to be talking about. First thing that I want to talk about with you is what you may be experiencing. So I want to talk about a little bit of the observations that we've had around sales in general. And I'm going to also ask you of what your experience is right now. The first thing is perhaps you're having a hard time actually even finding out where your prospects are. Maybe they used to be in an office that you could do drop-ins and actually find them at work. And now they're working remotely, and perhaps you can't even get into their offices. They've secured their buildings because they're concerned about COVID. If you are prospecting via email and you're trying to get through and have your initial messages that get read, unfortunately, my email has probably increased by easily 3 to 4 times. And where I used to get 50 spam messages a day, now I'm getting 150 to 200 spam messages a day. I have no idea how I ended up on all these lists, but man, it would be great if I could get out of them, because emails that I really want to see are getting lost. And we're going to give you some insights on how you navigate around that. And as we talked about before our conversation started today, we've got a prime case of election day that's going to last the entire month of November, and then we're going to have lawsuits that probably last the entire month of December and into 2021. That is par for the course for 2020. We've just been facing a lot of uncertainty on so many different avenues. We go from the pandemic and shutdowns and civil unrest and protests, and I mean, there's just so much coming at us. And I don't know about you, it's created just a little bit of turmoil and chaos. I know the economy is proving to be a roller coaster. I have people on two sides. It's like we have too much coming at us and we can't digest it, or everything dried up. So what I'd love to hear, and then the other thing is we have also experienced the fact that we used to have a lot of face-to-face meetings, or the ability to actually connect live. Now so much of that shifted to virtual. And all of these factors have affected our ability to be able to connect and build relationships. So my first question that I want to ask you is, how many of these observations are you experiencing? And I'd also like to hear how many of you are finding that you are in either one extreme or the other. So you're in the business has never been better and you're just trying to figure out how to get it all done and not go crazy, or everything dried up for you and you're trying to navigate within whatever the new normal chooses to be. So let me hear from you on the questions. So which of these are you experiencing, or are there others that you're being impacted by? Because I want to get a sense of where our audience is. So you can go over to the questions pane, chat in. Are you getting lost in the clutter and you're not really able to connect with prospects? Do you have prospects that are sitting here in limbo and they're just not moving? Starting to hear from folks. Okay.
I see some of their all of them. I think we have a lot of people that have clients that are, fear of the future, so they're kind of gridlocked a little bit.
They're stuck in limbo.
And
all right.
Can't knock on doors anymore, things like that. So.
Okay. All right. And I know that we've had we've had our share of all of these. Chris and I have experienced it too. So trust me, you are not alone with wherever it is that you're at right now. Now let's talk about what you have to shift in your approach in order to actually navigate this. So where we used to have been able to drop in and catch people, now, well, they're kind of hard to actually get in front of. So you have to be a little bit more targeted about how you do get in front of them. And there's a lot more where we have to pick up the phone and try and find people. And we may also be in a situation where buildings are locked down and you're not allowed in. So if you used to rely on a lot of that face-to-face or physical prospecting, now we have to shift and we have to move all of that over into social media and emailing and phone calls. All of these things are tools that we kind of have to pick up, and we have to, instead of it just being a one approach that would consistently work every time, now we've got to have multiple different things that we're pursuing in order to get the results that we were looking for. So with that, I told you when we first got started that I'm going to have the immediate spoiler that says I am a firm believer in the fact that referrals are the way to go. And I think just about everybody understands that referrals are a great avenue to prospects, but what I'd like for you to really take a few minutes and recognize why referrals are the best of all lead sources that you can possibly get. And then I'm going to talk to you today about how to be more effective about making those referrals happen. So if you aren't already on board the referral train, hopefully by the end of our session today, you're going to be looking for whatever ticket you can find in order to hop on. So the first thing is, whenever you get referred, if you think about the last time you closed a deal and think about whether or not it was a cold call or whether it was someone you met at a networking event or at a virtual event or somebody that you got referred to. Did you notice that they have a tendency to convert a little bit higher and a little bit faster? Let's just ask that question of the group. So the question is, last client that you landed, first of all, start there. Last client that you landed, how did you land them? Were they a referral?
Where did you hear about them from? Where did they come from? Was it cold call? Okay. Some the cold call, walk in.
Okay.
Was that you walking in, or was that somebody walked into your
walked into your office?
Your office, yeah.
So Jasenia, can you expand?
So it's a drop-in kind of a thing, yeah.
Yep. So you did a drop-in, okay? All right, and then Lisa's a cold calling machine. Lisa, you and Fogel should definitely meet. Make sure that you put your contact info in there, because the two of you, you're two peas in a pod. So you're going to want to make sure that you connect. And if you don't connect on the call today, I'll make sure that we get contact info between the two of you. So what we typically find is if it's a drop-in or it's a walk-in, what happens is your customers have to take that entire buyer journey of getting to know you and understanding who you are and what you do through their own discovery. And if you are referred, somebody else is doing the selling for you. And I don't know about you, but I kind of like it when somebody else has to do all that heavy lifting, because I've never really enjoyed that self-promotion thing. It's one of those cases of I'd much rather let everybody else be the hero. And it's kind of like I have to be on camera for 5 minutes for this, but trust me, I'm counting the minutes until I can turn the webcam off, because it is not all about me. And I love it when the focus is on other people. So the nice thing about referrals is it really lets other people do the same thing that I love doing for others. It lets them do it for me. And you also have an acquisition cost that goes into every single opportunity that you pursue. And this is a really good exercise for you to go through on all of your lead sources. So just know that Your homework assignment as you're looking at your prospecting for the remainder of this year and into 2021, you want to really understand where are your most effective opportunities coming from, whether it's whatever avenue of marketing, and the acquisition cost factors in not only how much it costs you to land that lead in terms of if there was like if you had to pay for Google AdWords or some sort of advertising on Facebook or LinkedIn, there's always a cost per lead. And then on top of that cost per lead, we also have to factor in the hours and the minutes that it takes you in order to pursue that. And all that goes into your acquisition cost. And that's important for you to understand. Also, you have to think about how much actual work is it. And the fun thing about referrals is referrals, you can just kind of jump in and do what you need to do. There isn't a whole lot of convincing, and the work that you can actually do ends up being what is typically within your highest and best purpose of time. So I love being referred to people that have problems that I can just immediately roll up my sleeves and go to work. And I don't have to spend all that time playing the sales game of here's why you want to work with me, or here's why I'm better than everybody else you're looking at, because the referral partner has already done all that for me. So those are some of the reasons why referrals are absolutely my favorite way of getting business. Now let's talk about where those sources of referrals come from. Now what I want to do today for you is help you look at all of the different avenues that you can be pursuing to find referrals. And I'm doing these in order of priority and focus. So the first thing that we need to be doing is making sure that we are leveraging all of our clients for introductions and referrals. And the reason why clients are the first place you should go, if I have a client, if I've got one of my clients that comes to me that's looking for more referrals, the first place I send them for a quick win is to their immediate client base, because every single great client that you have should be reproducing themselves at least once on an annual basis. Now, what I want you to do is just look back at your last 12 months and think about if each one of your fantastic clients doubled. What impact would that have on your business? Would it be significant for you? Could it be game changing? I want you to do a quick chat and let me know. So think about it. Your absolute best clients, if you think about how many of those you had over the past 12 months, if you met another one just like them, what would that do for your business? Would it be good?
I would cry.
It could be kind of fun.
Tears
So the thing about clients though, and while I'm waiting to hear from everybody, I'm going to just share with you something. The statistics show, and this was, I always pay attention to the marketing studies that are out there on where business is coming from and what marketing trends are, what's working versus what's not. I will tell you that more than 80%, I think the numbers are like 83 or 84% of clients would refer, and less than 40%, the numbers are in the 30% range, they don't even ask. So if you think about it, we've got the majority of clients would refer, but then the majority of salespeople don't ever ask. And I know that there's a lot behind this. I know that if we really tried to unpack the client referral challenges, there's a lot there that people struggle with. What you have to think about with your client base, though, there are so many people that say, I just feel like I'm always asking for something when I go to my clients, and they're already spending money with me. But there's a part of the human experience where we love to share when we've had a good experience. You can go into Yelp reviews or Google reviews, and you'll see hundreds of people that are talking about what a fantastic experience. We like talking about that stuff. So we should give our clients the opportunity to do so. Now, the flip side of it is we don't, in a lot of cases, we may be robbing an emotional account that has an insufficient balance. So what you have to do is you have to kind of help your clients balance the checkbook, for lack of a better term, of exactly why would they refer you. So what I don't want you to do is just ask the question of, hey, do you happen to know anybody that might be a good potential client for me? Because I need more business. Come on, bring it, bring it. I'm needing it. We don't want to do that. Okay, there would be a sign up that says stop sign, don't go here, don't do that.
Right.
What you need to do when you're cultivating referrals from your clients is think about what's in it for them to refer. Is it they feel better about referring you and they get that emotional buzz or that warm fuzzy feeling that says, hey, I helped somebody that I like. Or maybe you need to think about a client referral rewards program. We did an entire episode on that, by the way, on creating client referral rewards program that was pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. I think, Chris, you would say we did a pretty good job with that too, wouldn't you?
Yes, but I'm kind of prejudiced a little bit.
Just we may be a little biased.
Yeah,
There we go. We got a little bit of that bias going on, but we had other people that said there was good information, so go check it out.
Right.
It's on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, because client referral rewards program, if you take nothing else out of today's presentation other than this, focus on client relationships first, and then start to leverage some of the other fun stuff. We have a tendency to like getting into the fun stuff because it's got that curb appeal and it's new and it's shiny, and we forget some of the most basic stuff that we need to be doing. So before you start running in your prospecting effort, make sure you're walking first. Or how about you even think about it like you need to learn how to crawl before you walk or run. So this is one of the key elements. We want to make sure that we really get underway. And then once you have all of those those relationships that are super solid and they're saying wonderful things about you and they're raving fans, now what we can do is we can move into all of those referral partnerships. So referral partnerships are where you identify other resources that you need in order to be successful within your client. So for example, I often get brought in because people aren't experiencing the sales that they're hoping for. And normally when I start to peel back the onion, I discover that what they think is a lead issue or a sales issue actually is a marketing problem. And that's why I have great partnerships like Chris, because the two of us together can bring you so much more value than if it were just him or it were just me. Right. So referral partnerships are those key relationships that you need in place. So think about, so for example, we've got folks in here who are in healthcare. So in healthcare, what you want to do is you want to identify all of those relationships that are the most important that are upstream from you. This is the biggest challenge. Normally what happens is we've got the people like Fogel that are out there hustling and beating the streets, and they're the ones that are the first in the door or the first up with an opportunity. And then everybody and his hound dog is coming out of the woodwork asking Fogel for referrals. We've got the appraisers, we've got the inspectors, we've got the real estate attorneys, we've got the bankers. Everybody wants Fogel to be their partner. But now, and he's in industrial real estate. He's on our call this morning, and thank you so much for joining us. But then what you have to ask is, if you are one of the Fogels of the world, then who's going to refer you? So that's why you've got to look upstream for your best partnerships. You have to not only have the folks that are going to help you enhance the services that you offer to your clients, you also need those folks that are there first. So for example, a great place that if you're in the industrial real estate space, you need to be talking to people as they're coming into the community. So who is it that's recruiting into the community? And that's where you can start looking at the EDCs and the CDCs. So those are the economic development centers and the community development centers. So all of those people that are going to be bringing businesses in. And that's why you have to kind of shift your thinking about identifying partnerships. And normally what happens whenever I'm doing a talk like this, I'll have a lot of people that tell me, you know, Brendan, I've never found this to be a two-way street. I'm always doing a great job of giving referrals to everybody else. And that's when I say, okay, so you need to look at who is in your prospects before you are, that's stirring up opportunities that they need you in order to do a better job. And that's one of the key components to leveraging partnerships. And I'm sharing with you insight of what I'm seeing. So remember, today's all about observations and what Chris and I are seeing about marketing and sales that has shifted since March. And I'm also sharing with you what I'm seeing that works. And it's really important that you start thinking about all of these different elements and how they're going to play together with what you're doing. So now let's move and talk about social media. Oops, we had a typo on our slide there. Social media.
Yeah.
We
like
swapped that. There we go. I guess we should fire the proofreader on your slide deck, huh, Chris?
I believe so.
That would be me. I'm the proofreader on the slide deck. It's social media, not social media. So
this is what happens when you do a slide deck late at night.
And when somebody opens it up in the morning, it says, "Oh, I can't get my internet to work." Yeah. I just look through and I'm like, "Yep, there's slides there. Let's run with it." So with social media, what I want you to understand, because I have all kinds of people who say, "I'm not on social media. I don't do much there." Okay, here's why you need to. So more than, I think they did a stat, and this was another HubSpot study that was done, where they examined sales producers that met quota. And more than 75% of producers who met or exceeded quota all leveraged social media in order to prospect and find opportunities. The other thing that they found is that almost 90% of salespeople who didn't make quota would not use social media. So that's a pretty strong indicator right there of it works. So if you are looking for opportunities, and okay, so let's pretend you're not in full-time business development, it's just one role that you have amongst many others. You still need to, you need to understand what people who are really skilled at this are doing, so that you're not trying to figure this out all on your own, because trust me, somebody's gone there before you have. And I would so much rather look around and identify mentors that have gotten things done and have gotten there faster or better than I have, and then I'm going to copy what they did. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. I believe in flattering everybody. So that's what I want you thinking about. The other, so that's one side of why social media is so important in your prospecting. The other side of it is the fact that more than 90% of people are going to reach out via social media when they need something. More than, I think the studies are like 92% of buyer journeys are kicked off with a request for a referral. And I see it happen all the time. Even on Facebook, people will say, "Hey, I'm looking for someone who can help me with," and then fill in the blank. All the way up to, I get text messages from people saying, "Hey, who do you know that can help me with?" and then fill in the blank with XYZ. And normally a lot of these reach outs are happening on social media. The other really cool thing about social media is it is designed to keep you top of mind with people that like you. And it does a lot of that heavy lifting, so you don't have to. So by all means, let's leverage technology that makes our world easier. Are y'all using cell phones instead of that phone that's stuck on the side of the wall? Anybody here still using that landline as their primary communication? Are y'all using your cell phones?
Anybody got a rotary phone still?
Anybody got a rotary phone? Is there anybody on here that's not ever seen? Okay, so all right. So yes, Fogel's on a landline right now. Now, Fogel, you can't tell me that because you were sitting there surfing Blackberries and doing text messages back when people were still carrying their briefcase phones. So yes, so if we have jumped onto the whole cell phone and texting bandwagon, social media in your business is right there. Go there. You need to be there. It makes the clouds part and the angels sing on your prospecting. All right, now we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to actually do some work on your prospecting effort that you have right now underway, whatever that looks like. So I'm going to help you with recognizing just what you need to be doing in your prospecting in order to reach your sales goals. So everybody on the call, stay with me on this exercise because I want you chiming in on this as we go. So how many referrals do you need in order to reach your sales goals? That is going to be the question I show you how to answer. So in order to get there, the first thing that you have to look at is what is the average value of a sale to you. Now, there are a couple different ways that you may be measured on this. So some of you may have a total revenue goal that you have, as in you need to bring in X amount in terms of like $1 million in new business. Well, then what you need to do is if you have a revenue goal, then you are going to look at how much revenue is present in your average client. If, like a lot of folks on this call, you are commission driven, then I want you to look at what your average commission is in your business. So you got a pen and paper? I want you to jot this down and go through the math as I talk through this. So then the next thing is your closing percentage. Now, for you to think about how many leads you need to bring in, this is important math for you to do on all of your lead sources. So just to give you kind of the highlights, cold calling, you're typically going to close 1 to 5% of questions held. So what that means is you may have to talk to, I don't know, 100 people in order to find 1 or 5 that are willing to hire you. So it's anywhere from 20 at bats to 100 in order to actually find an opportunity. So that's a lot. So if you think about it, that's cold calling. If you network, you're normally 10 to 15%. If you get referred, your closing percentages are typically going to start at 25% and go all the way up to about 85%, depending on the influence of the person that's introducing you. All right, so that's another reason why I love referrals. So closing percentage on referrals, what I want you to use is a conservative percentage for the math in this exercise today. So let's use 25%. So you're going to write in the 25%. Then what I want you to do is multiply the average value of a client by your closing percentage. And that gives you the value of a referral. So that is the first exercise I want you to do real quick. And if you're listening to the recording later, just hit a quit. You can hit the pause button. It's cool. But everybody else, I'm going to give you just a second. So then the next question that I want you to answer is, how many referrals do you need in order to reach your goals for this year? And to get that number, what you're going to do is you're going to take the total revenue goal that you have. Now, some of you, this may be that revenue goal, may be your, if you've got a base salary and you've got an income goal, there's a spread there between your base and what your stretch goal is, or your total income goal. Whatever that number is, that's your revenue number. And then if you're 100% commission, well, that's a lot easier for you to measure. Then it's how much do you want to make in terms of your income. So I want you to take that revenue number and then divide it by the value of a referral. And that equals how many referrals you need. And that's what I want you to chat in with me right now.
While you're figuring that out, I'd like to remind you of some of the things that Brendan just said. Is think about the closing percentage on maybe what you're doing now. The closing percentage is 5%. Think about what happens if you take some of these concepts that Brendan has given you and you change it to 75%. Right? How much quicker would you get to your goal? So.
And that's what we really want to make sure, is that we're working smart, because trust me, there's more than enough opportunity for you to be working hard.
Is that,
okay?
Lisa, is that one to two referrals per week for the rest of this year to get to your goal?
Or is it on an ongoing basis? So if you have 1 to 2 referrals per week, and see, Lisa did the rest of the math that I would love for you to do, is I'd love for you to take that total number of referrals that you need and break it down by the weeks. But that we go there. First question is, of course, how many do you need? And then we break it down.
She said ongoing basis, so.
Yep. Yeah, she's done the math. Okay, so I've only heard from a couple of you. This is important math for you to do, everybody.
And if you're, like me, I met Brendan, when was that? 1942 or some crap like that, a long time ago. And I was running a business, and I was very reactive, right? So I didn't have these numbers off the top of my head. So she might be asking you something that you can't answer at this point. And I hope, if that's the case, I hope it makes you uncomfortable enough to actually chase it down, because it was, for me, I was told, Brendan, I was like a dog on linoleum. There's a lot of action, can't catch a claw though, no progress, none whatsoever. So, so these concepts right here changed, it blew the top of my head off. It changed how I did business. So it became working smart rather than hard.
And that's what's so important for you to really look at. So if you haven't come up with your answer yet, make sure you continue working on it. Chat it to us. We want to hear about it. Now what we want to talk about is where salespeople, or anybody, it's not just salespeople, we have a tendency to fall down on the job with this next part. Because once you get that lead or you get that referral, we have a tendency to run with what is here immediately, not recognizing that a lot of buyers, they may be good prospects, they're just not good prospects today. So we have a tendency to drop the ball on that follow up and follow through. So there is, and I'm sharing a lot of statistics with you. And the reason I am is because you need to understand how this world works when it comes to business development. So recognize that more than 95% of salespeople don't follow up past that third touch. So think about the last prospect that you got referred to. I'm sure you were great about immediately connecting with them once that introduction was made. But then what happened? What happened if they said, we can't do anything right now, we're going to delay until open enrollment is over, or until after the first of the year, or after the election, or in this case now, after the lawsuits finally end up getting called, whatever it is. So all of that stuff affects how quickly you're going to get to the bank with an opportunity. And recognize that, you know, a lot of us, we just have a tendency that falls off of our radar and we just forget about it unless it's somebody that reaches out and is continuing to connect with us. Well, here's the other side of it. More than 85% of business closes after the 12th contact.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 12. Did you hear that? Did everybody hear that? Did y'all hear me?
12.
12 contacts, 12 touches. So how do you do that? Because trust me, I don't want you calling and saying, hey, I'm just following up, or hey, just checking in. This actually needs to be a systematic approach.
Exactly.
So we have to be effective at engaging and building relationships. But how do you do that? Because we're having a tendency to get lost, like we talked about. We've got that 4 times the amount of email that's going out. So messages aren't being opened and they're getting lost completely. Or even if it's an introduction, maybe people aren't responding when you send that first touch. So let me share just a few secrets of what I'm discovering right now. It's taking on average 4 to 6 attempts to connect with a prospect, where prior to March, it only took 1. So I want you hearing me. So 4 to 6 attempts, or 4 to 6 messages. And what I don't want you doing is just continuing to send them the same one over and over and over. You need to make 3 or 4 different messages. Now, you can work with templates that you can just snag from your Google or Outlook and you plug in, you know, wanted to follow up, wanted to connect with you. So and so thought that we should talk. This is what they mentioned that you needed. The thing that you've got to be careful about is that opening statement. People have an attention span right now of about 3 seconds. And the 3 seconds that you need to have in all of your emails and all of your messages should not be your name and your business and why you want to talk to them. Because I mean, I'm getting so many of those, it's ridiculous as a business owner. And I know that if you are after a prospect that's a leader within a business and it's a business that's fairly high profile, you are never going to get through all the clutter unless you really stand out. So what I want you to think about is crafting a headline, and your subject line is so important that you make sure that it ties directly to why they want to talk to you. So instead of sending, and think almost clickbait with your, but ethical clickbait, okay? So you want there to be something that just snags their attention in your emails that you send out. The other thing that I'm going to encourage you to do is connect on social media platforms and message there. Leverage all the tools at your disposal. And when you reach out, so you're going to send an email first and then follow up with a phone call, and then connect with them across LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever social platform they're on. I want you connecting on multiple forums. And I want you to make sure that all of your subject, every message that you send needs to lead with why do they want to talk to you. So it's got to be tied to their issue, not to your service.
So see, that's the thing right there, is where prospecting meets marketing. Is everybody's walking around the world thinking about one person. Guess what? It's not you, right? So you don't. Everybody has this tendency now to go, I'm great, and here's why. I have, all the answers you need to solve your problem, blah 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 blah. But it's all you focused. It needs to be them focused, and it can be Here's an article that describes exactly what you were talking about. Feel free to call me with any questions about it or things like that, right? So you're addressing their needs, not your wants. Make sense?
So it's really important that you think about all of these things and make sure that you don't just throw something against the wall and hope it sticks.
Mm-mm.
Because trust me, we're all having to we're just having to work too hard in order to make opportunities happen for us to be cavalier about any of the things that are coming our way. So then in order to get that subject line or that intro, here's just a couple of tips that I have for you. So the first thing is, in order to get a really good subject line, I'd like for you to write about 10. And I will tell you that normally when you write 10 or even more, in some cases, I've written as many as 25 in order to find the one or two that I'm going to use. And I find that there are a few that perform better. So I will end up reusing the subject lines for emails that are effective and get high open rates. So as Chris often says, success leaves clues.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention to what's working and treat it like an A/B test. And we actually did one of our episodes on A/B testing. And there's some really pretty cool stuff there in that episode that even if you're not doing a big marketing effort, if it's just you working to figure out what's working now with your own prospecting, it tells you how to try an approach. So make sure you check out that episode. And what you want to think about is this isn't a try or fail, but an experiment, and then you iterate. Because otherwise it can get kind of discouraging as you're going through this process. And this is not something I want you to get discouraged by. I want you to take every lesson that you're learning and use it to refine your approach and iterate. Because it's a lot like making, I give this example all the time, it's like making the perfect chili recipe. And I've got a recipe that I figured out that there are certain things that I can do that just make it taste a little bit better. And that is exactly what you should be doing with your prospecting. And it's critical to your success. I want you to keep it short. It cannot be about you. I don't want this to be your name. I don't want this to be your company name. I want it to be really why they should listen to you. And to get there, you can speak to the transformation. And that's what I want to make sure is present in the opening paragraphs or that initial conversation that you have with anybody. It needs to be what they are trying to accomplish. And now the fun thing about getting referred is in a lot of cases, when you get referred, you can ask the question, why do you think we should talk? Or why did their name come to mind for you? What are they experiencing right now? And you can get some insight that allows you to craft that initial message so that it's a lot more impactful. So make sure you are leveraging that tool. Now, let's talk about managing your metrics. And I'm going to tell you right now, we started a little bit late this morning, so we're going to be running just a little bit over. And if you have to hop to another call, I totally get it. This is a part though that you are going to want to jump back on and listen to the recording, because what I want you to do is the math on your own prospecting effort, because it's really important that you understand the metrics that matter in your business. Now, when I talk about metrics that matter, what I'm really talking about here, these are those very clear indicators of you are on track with your sales effort. And it's not I feel good about what I'm doing because I'm working hard. These are concrete indicators that tell you you're either on track or you are not going to hit your goals. So those indicators that you need to have, first of all, it's conversations. And this is not conversations with just people. This is conversations with legitimate prospects that have a need and they are exploring a solution with you. Okay? Did you get that? I want to make sure that everybody's really clear. So it's a conversation with a legitimate prospect that has a need and they're interested in you solving it. This is these are conversations with prospects. There is a specific number of conversations that you need to have every day, every week, every month in order to get your sales goals. And in order to figure that, I'm going to share a worksheet with you that will be part of the record. When we send this out, we're going to send out the recording link on Monday. Actually, I'm going to send it out over the weekend. And there will be a worksheet that you can request or download, and that will walk you through how to figure out all of these numbers for your business. So first thing is conversations. The next measure of success that you need to have in your business is the number of appointments. So I know that in order to reach my goals every day, I have to have 2 appointments per day, period. And it's 2 meetings that are going to lead to prospects or lead to opportunities. So not just I'm going to catch up with my 5 favorite people. It really needs to be an appointment with a legitimate opportunity. And then I also have metrics in my business where I need to have clear futures. Now, a clear future is a definitive next step to doing business together. So a definitive next step is not a send me some information. A definitive next step is when the prospect asks you to send them information and you respond with, I'm happy to do that. What are you specifically looking for in the information? And then you dig in to whatever they give you. Well, I need to understand a little bit more about this, 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 and this. Great. Okay. So what if I send you and then you make a suggestion? And then if they say, fantastic, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, great. I'm going to send that information over to you. When would be a good time for me to reconnect with you after you've had a chance to review that? Because I know you're going to have other questions that come up from that. And then that date that gets scheduled for a follow-up conversation is your clear future. And that is a must-have with every single appointment you need to have. It needs to move to that clear future. And then the next thing that we need to look at is we need to define what the next steps are. And then oftentimes we also have proposals in there that need to be measured and closes. And the worksheet that I'm happy to share with you will walk you through how to figure out what your metrics are on each and every one of these that you have in your own prospecting, because this is really important planning for you to do. Because once you do this, there's just so much, I don't know, it's almost a sense of I'm on track or I'm not on track and here's where I'm not. Because too much of business development is based on this feeling of you're going to reach your goals because you've got good things happening. But if they're not the right good things happening, then we just end up in this spot mentally that you're in circles and it's not productive. So it's really important that you take the time in order to figure out what these metrics are. Okay, Chris, do you want to add anything to that before I dive into what I have for them?
No,
This is
I
their
think I think it's I know we're running long, so I don't want to talk too much, but I think it's highly important. You may be like me, a creative person, but I'm also very linear, and I know like Lisa shared that she's, I think, in payroll and things like that. So she's, a numbers person. You may not be a numbers person, but I'm telling you, to get from in your head to down where you can see it on paper of all these concepts that Brendan is talking about will literally change your business. It may seem like common sense. It may seem like Well, yeah, I know that, but you're not doing it. Do it. Please do it, because our goal here is just to help you. And these are the fundamentals that are rooted, again, like Brendan said earlier, success leaves clues. These are the fundamentals that are rooted in success. And we want you more than anything to be successful. All right. So please, and
Absolutely.
we're going to send you this information. You're going to get a link to this video. And you'll have our contact information if you have any questions. So back to you, Brendan.
And you're going to have, like I said, you can request the download, you can request the worksheet and go through that exercise and take the time to do it. Because I know that we have a tendency to just get running and gunning with whatever it is that we're doing. And if we don't make sure that we have these core components in place, then all we do is just work hard and we really don't have that feeling of I'm on track or I'm not on track. And I don't want you to be in that spot. That uncertainty is a killer. I mean, we got too much of that already in the world right now.
Mhm.
So here's what we want to offer to you in order to help you reach your goals. Right now, I'm finding that people just need a little bit of refining. Here's what you need to do, and here's how you need to go do it. So what we are putting together for you is we are going to offer a free mini training series, and it kicks off Monday morning. And I'd love for you to join us, and it's going to be a very short video that's probably less than 10 minutes that gives you an assignment for the day that will help you get organized and structured with your prospecting effort. So in order to get there, we actually have some place that you have to go and sign up. And the focus is going to be creating those referrals. Now, in order to get there, so the folks that are on this call, just shoot a quick email over to admin@salesworks.com. But in the recording, I'm going to actually have a link that is in the recording also that you can click in order to go register and sign up for this mini training series, because there's some really good stuff here. I'm going to share with you. It will help you with just getting your arms wrapped around what you need to be doing right now and at what level you need to be doing it, which even just that feeling of I've got this, that dopamine hit is going to be so helpful for you, and you're going to be able to feel a lot better about what it is that you're focusing on with your prospecting and sales. Because the thing is we don't just want you to come on to these sessions and say, oh, that's a good idea, I should think about that. We want you to take action and make an impact, and we want to have a difference in your business. And the only way we have that difference is if you do something differently based on what you've learned this morning. Now, the other thing that I want to tell you about is the Women's Business Center is one of our sponsors of this event, and they're a phenomenal organization. I know many of you may have heard about this session from the Women's Business Center. I encourage you to go check out their other sessions that they have. You can find them on kansascitywbc.eventbrite.com. And I recommend you go check them out. The other thing, Chris and I, we recognize that you may have questions going on right now. Connect with us on our social channels. We also, we've got the Prospecting Challenge group on Facebook. And we are going to be posting the links for the mini training series. Everything is going to be in that Facebook group. So if you don't see the email in the morning, make sure you join that group and go hop in on that, because we're going to have a lot of good stuff that we're doing over the next week. Because we recognize that in a lot of cases, you signed up today because there's someplace you want to be, and you're not quite sure you're going to get there doing what you've always done. So let us help you get to a different destination that maybe it's even beyond what you expected. That's what we'd really like to do, is help you expand your horizons on what you can accomplish in your prospecting. So I want to wrap up with saying thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great seeing a lot of you. We've had some familiar faces on and we've got some new faces on. I appreciate folks logging on from far and near. And I want you to just remember a couple of things. First of all, you've got to take action based on what you're learning in order to get to a different outcome. And the second thing is your success can come through other relationships. So remember, to get what you want, you must help others get what they want. Have a great day, and we wish you good selling.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.